Welcome back to Open Waters Podcast. This episode, we have Eren Gulsen. Eren and I are very, very good friends. We were in the same major at Mass Maritime, International Maritime Business. And Eren here, he actually got a minor, a facilities minor, facilities engineering at Mass Maritime as well. And long story short, and I mean, we'll get into this, but Eren, basically realized the business side of things wasn't for him, and after graduating, really has done great things with his facilities background, and really has taken advantage of that aspect. So, Eren, welcome. How you doing?
Thank you. Thank you for having me on. Big supporter of the show. And I honestly thank you on behalf of all the kids that are at the school right now because I wish that there were kids who were just like within 5 years of graduating that I could have talked to and been like, what is it really like out there? Because it is so confusing when when you're still trying to figure things out.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I mean, that's why we're here. You know, uh, the couple of us, we were talking, and we realized the void that there wasn't a space like this for maritime cadets, maritime grads. Um, so yeah, let's get into it. So
All
why
right.
don't you tell us a little bit about how you heard of Mass Maritime, or what made you want to go there, or and
All
how
right.
things got started for you.
Yeah, so I actually grew up in Plymouth, Mass, right down the road. Even having grown up in Plymouth, though, I didn't know about Mass Maritime until my junior year when, you got the kids in the high school and they got the TVs up with the poster or whatever where the people are going, and that's kind of how it started. It took till I was 16 at that point to learn what was down the road for me. It's like the best kept secret. So
Yeah, yeah.
I had heard the phrase like what is it? Study hard for 4 years and party the rest of your life, or party for 4 years and then work hard for the rest of your life. So obviously, it was like I'm gonna follow the money, and I wanted to go to Mass Maritime, and
You want to party the rest of your life?
that's yeah, yeah. I wish it was just like that, but no, we I kind of grew up in some like working in HVAC as a kid, just recreation, not recreational stuff. Working with my dad doing mobile homes stuff, so kind of small scale stuff. But I grew up kind of working with my hands. So when I got to maritime, I thought, oh, this is the perfect fit, and I declared energy and energy systems engineering. So that was my major right off the bat, and at the time they were still doing C terms where every freshman in the school, no matter what major you went on C term, and then after that you basically get an appreciation for for all the different majors, and you come back and that was when a lot of people would switch around. So I thought, all right, I'm going to use this time, figure out what I like, and when I come back, I'll redeclare. Shipped out and ended up switching to marine transportation for my second semester of freshman year. And then I think in the first semester of sophomore year, I also went marine engine and then facilities engineering, and then ended up on business for the rest of sophomore year.
Yeah, it's a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I was switching all my majors. I got to meet all the teachers, which was awesome. But um, yeah, so switched around a lot. I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to do because on C term you got to see. So I was loving working with my hands. I knew that I wanted to get into something that was kind of in that field. But then for me also, I've always been kind of business oriented, and um, when I switched to business, I might have gotten caught up in that Wolf of Wall Street type of mentality. Like I want to be out there snapping necks and cashing checks. I want to be doing the big business stuff. I want to be doing it large. I'm here at Mass Maritime, the place that's going to get me employed, and I want to get into shipping business. Like this is big money. This is global. This is it, right?
So on that note, you actually got what's regarded as like one of the best internships for business students, the Potent Partners in Manhattan. Um,
Yeah, I was really lucky with that one. That was a good experience. So yeah, a lot again going back to the kind of Wolf of Wall Street thing. That was kind of where I think I got seduced, admittedly. But when I went there, I'm like, okay, here it is. Like this is where I want it to be. This is it. And I got there and I realized that the desk life or the behind the scenes of business, the way it's done nowadays, is not for me.
It's not as sexy as the movies.
No, no, not quite. But it was, I mean, I got to meet a lot of great people, learned how the business actually worked, and the experience I got there was fantastic. Poten and Partners was a great company, and they're one of a kind because they're an open desk concept. So you're sitting next to the operations agent, the market analyst, the broker, and they're all in one spot. But yeah, I was right in Manhattan, New York. Like for me, it couldn't get any better, and I just realized that that was not where I wanted to go. So the scramble kind of recontinued when I came back from that internship as to what I wanted to do. And I switched to facilities engineering again. So started my junior year now, I'm a facilities engineer and going through classes. And I actually, it's funny. So I kind of switched back to facilities engineering still because I knew I wanted to work with my hands and do something more active. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do. So I was still kind of trying to figure it out and talking to teachers and looking at other majors. I wasn't even sold on facilities when I'd come back. And it was through Phonathon, actually. I was working on with the Phonathon crew.
Yeah, I
And
remember this.
I called an alumni who was working down in Fort Lauderdale and or living down in Fort Lauderdale, and they actually had a connection to the Port Everglades terminal with Crowley Shipping Company. So I kind of had this same conversation with the alumni over the phone, and he as soon as we talked, it's crazy the network that's out there for young maritimers if you can just reach out and connect with somebody. Because when I was younger, when I was in school, I would think, this guy's like 5 years out of school. He's doing it. He doesn't want to talk to me. And this here I am now. Like this, I talked to this guy, and he got me an internship right off the bat. So I flew down to Florida and worked in Port Everglades as a stevedoring supervisor intern. Uh, so essentially, just kind of learning the ins and outs of what it means to be a stevedore. Um, and then my another semester rolls by, and I wasn't going to go right back down to Florida, but I stayed up here and did a facilities internship because I just wanted to see a different side of the facilities path. Um, so I ended up doing an internship with Mass Maritime right on campus, which is also unique because you get to work with the dockside boiler. You got the wastewater plant right there.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
they got it all.
Yeah, they have what's that? The Pan Mass Challenge comes down, so you actually got to get all the buildings set back up as if it's going to be reoccupied, and then you shut it back offline. So you get to see the process of what it means to bring a building online and offline. Um, but yeah, I one of the biggest things about maritime that I've looked back and appreciated was definitely the internships. I don't think a lot of other schools promote them as much as maritime, and I think that's 95% of the success rate coming out of there. Like you really, even if you don't find something you like, you'll find out what you don't like, and that is the biggest.
It
That's the big
helps.
piece.
Yeah, it's a big help. Yeah, that's one of the major selling points. Like I remember going to the open houses and they're giving you the spiel and it's learn, do, learn. And
Mm,
they're required for every major. You need two co-ops. And a lot of schools, like, yeah, there's internship opportunities, but they don't force kids, and so in turn a lot of college kids don't get internships.
yeah,
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 it makes the difference.
yeah. Especially when you get out and it's time to find a job, and now it comes down to having to try and support yourself, and you are looking at these job options again. You don't even you might have an understanding from reading the description of what the job might be like, but once as you've done a couple internships and compared that to what it actually is, then you kind of see, what you're getting yourself into. So by learning what you don't like, you can kind of gear yourself up towards at least something new, but ideally something that you're going to like. So I think that's a huge plus for maritime that a lot of other schools just don't emphasize enough. And
Yeah.
I wish I started sooner. Like, you can start as a freshman. I wish I started sooner, but
Yeah, like they require 2, but, my roommate Colin, he went ahead and did 3 just because he wanted to, you know?
yeah.
So, good on him and good on anyone who does something like that. But
Mm,
yeah, it makes the difference. It's you really don't you like you're saying, you can't get a good feel of a job just from reading the job description. Like you got to be there,
mhm.
doing it.
Yeah, you learn to read between the lines once as you've been duped a couple times, and then you get to kind of you really feel out what it is you're going to be getting into by reading the post and then living it. Actually, it's like a lot of times it'll end up being different, but
Yeah.
yeah. So when I graduated, I didn't really know what it was that I wanted to do right off the bat, because I had moved to Fort Lauderdale and I had picked up that job stevedoring again. So
Yeah, yeah. I remember you're down in Florida again with Crowley.
mhm. Yeah, I actually, so I kind of rewinding now a little bit, going back to that internship I had with Maritime, where I was working in a building, just seeing the other side of operations. Even though I loved working down in the docks when I did my internship, when I did the actual the facilities internship in Maritime, working in the buildings, I started to kind of become a nerd about the systems, like learning how everything actually all ties together, and it's kind of the hidden architect, I guess, is the right word for it. Like the people who actually make things happen behind the scenes. Like, you turn your hot water on and you've got hot water, and it's not going to
Yeah,
get you sick.
you're the man behind the curtain.
Yeah, yeah. So I really like that aspect of it. And when I ended up choosing, after doing some of the license classes with Maritime, to end up going back down to Fort Lauderdale, because I thought, like, okay, I like this. I have the licenses now. I'm gonna go do stevedoring, and then if I don't like it, I'll come back and use the licenses, which was ultimately what I ended up doing.
Yeah.
I left Crowley and came back up north, and that was when a barrage of other types of jobs started. I worked for a little while in a waste or a trash recovery plant down at Covanta in West Wareham. I I actually started as a trash picker there. I didn't even get to use the license right away. They had me kind of work my way up through the chain of command there. So I mean, it's kind of for a plant like that, because it's not the most appealing for a lot of people to be working at a trash plant, that it turns into a revolving door within the first few rungs of being there. So I think it was a month kind of picking the propane tanks off the assembly line that comes up and ends up shredding the trash before it goes off to the boiler.
Okay.
Um, then moved up to assistant auxiliary operator, which is where the actual operators that you think of, like the Homer Simpsons of the world, that sit behind the board and they're calling the shots. If they needed something, like they needed a valve opened or something to be checked, like why is this not operating? They call you and say, "All right, go find this." And that was a huge learning curve, because what you learn in the books is all well and good, but when it comes time to applying it, that takes its own type of practice for sure. So it was a little slice of humble pie that time.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, then I left there and worked at a building, a pharmaceutical building on Cape Cod, um, basically working as a maintenance engineer there. But that was another very unique place, because you have these rooms that are under positive pressure, and it's one of the ISO 9000 rules, I think it is, that the building's actually under pressure, and positive displacement as you walk in will push any incoming germs that would have came in with the air back out. Um, and the people that are coming in, and all your tools got to be disinfected. And um, God forbid you walk in there and you got to turn back around and grab a wrench that you left on the cart. You got to take the whole gown off, go out, grab it, wipe it down, gown back up, back in, do your
Jeez.
thing, gown back down, and out the door.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's been a lot of different jobs, and I a lot just I wish someone was kind of there to kind of guide me through what different jobs were there, which is kind of why I'm rambling in detail a little bit about what I've done. But it took me, I think, 4 or 5 jobs since I graduated now to kind of land on one that to land on one that I do feel like I have a future in now. So
Yeah. Yeah.
um,
But yeah, I mean that for facilities engineering, there's just so many different options out there. I mean, every facility has engineering. You don't.
mm,
It's and like you're saying, it's something you don't think about. It's something that's kind of behind the scenes. Um,
yeah,
and
and
yeah,
I actually graduated with a business major. My major was in business, so
yeah, yeah,
it's it's been a cool partnership between those two, trying to work through operations with a business background. So that's why I've
yeah,
kind of geared myself towards things that are more operations, as opposed to being, a working for Siemens and being working as a controller, essentially going to buildings and installing controllers for the HVAC systems, or uh, like Joe Perry, who works as he's if you need an HVAC system installed in the building, you call Joe. Joe will get the specs of the building, get all the facts ready, like get the design actually ready for the building. Say, okay, we need a contractor to come in and put like that. That in itself is kind of is kind of overlapping with what I do now, but that in itself is its own type of its
yes,
own world. Like so,
yeah.
there's so many things that you can do with it, and learning the niches definitely comes with a lot of failures, I guess, at first. So
Yeah, there's a lot of options. Like really every building, they need someone like you. Like I remember getting a Snapchat recently. You're on the rooftop of some building in Boston, sending me the TD Garden and the Zakim Bridge. Like
oh
just like
yeah, up
things
top of the
things you wouldn't
conference
think
room.
about. Like geez, and you're up there right in the middle of it all. So tell me more about. So you're down in Rhode Island now, and what
Mhm.
landed you down there was working for General Dynamics. So tell me about how you got involved with them and where that's taken you.
Right. So w- the jobs that I had when I had first gotten out, the working in the trash plant, learned that I didn't want to be working in a power plant. Just kind of altogether, that wasn't really where I wanted to take the operations side of things, the engineering. So I switched gears and went back to building maintenance. So that was with the Associates Cape Cod down at Falmouth. That wasn't really what I wanted to do. Again, it was kind of maybe it was out of I was being impatient, but it was too slow. So I ended up switching gears again, and I lucked out by getting the great opportunity to go work with General Dynamics with their professional development program. Um, so with them, it's a construction company at its bones, and what they're doing is building boats. But there's so many pieces that go into it outside of actually being hands-on. So for me, that position was a great marriage between my business background and the facility side of things, because not only do you need to be able to know how to swing a wrench and go down and look at a pump and figure out that's where that's supposed to go. This is the plan on how we're going to do it, and be able to see the operation side of things. You're also reporting to the Navy. So you have key indicators that you're going to be responding to in these meetings, when it's going to be yourself, your boss, and the Navy sitting across from you, and they're going to say, okay, here's this job. you were allocated, say, 1,600 hours to get this done. It takes 4 trades. You have 2 tradesmen from each one at 80 hours a week for 2 40-hour employees plus support trades. And basically, it starts to encompass a whole lot of things. The key indicators mostly being cost variance, and so that what that means is what I was kind of just explaining. You have a job, and we're going to look at it as a period of time, a 1,600-hour order. If I have a 40-hour work week and I have 2 guys doing it, that should take 2 800-hour groupings, which would be essentially, what's that, 20? No, I can't do math. 20 weeks. That's embarrassing. But so these are the type of things that you're trying to figure out, and there's so much that goes into. Obviously, you'd be more prepared than I am right now in that scenario, but um, a lot of budgeting, and so yeah, it was good to be able to see, for one, how the U.S. builds its submarines, which was amazing. There's different trades that go into it, and you get to kind of you learn to appreciate a little bit more the finites of different trades. So the little technical know-hows of someone who might be handy and is a machinist versus a structural welder. Those are two very separate things working hand in hand. But yeah, the biggest one there was definitely that marriage between the hands-on and the business side of things. And I did that for about 2.5 years. And in the end, I actually left because I just found this opportunity to kind of go green, I guess, for lack of a better word. I found a job with Barclay Water Management, and we do all sorts of water testing on different critical components. So it could be in a power plant, it could be in a manufacturing facility, it could be an office building, a school, or a hospital. All these different places have a cooling system, a boiler. They have all these different needs for water to play some sort of different role. So there's a lot that goes into it, but being in heating and being in the HVAC side of things kind of lends itself towards the green job field, because there's a lot of overlap. You use water in so many different things, and I've kind of become a nerd about it, and I'm getting really into the science and the chemistry of like what changes, and what different manipulations you need to make for different applications, whether it be like whether well, for prime example, a big boiler versus small boiler have two different needs for the structure of the water. But I not to bore you with the details, but I've 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 now found myself in a position where I was able to work with General Dynamics for so long to learn how to manage an actual operation, and know the foresight of manpower to be able to plan out how jobs are going to unfold. That was kind of the operation side of that. And then where we were answering as a supervisor for, the budget of these jobs, that has now translated into my scheduling and organization for this job now. So whereas beforehand I had um, a very structured, chain of command that people were looking down on me and wanted certain things of me. Now it's a little bit more on me. I have a set of clients, and I have to go see them all in a month. If I'm going to miss a day, then I have to make up for it another day or find someone to cover me. It comes down to um, just really like ownership in what you're doing. And that was what I loved about General Dynamics, is everybody there was held responsible for what it was that they had to do. And um, I was lucky enough to have that responsibility for 2.5 years, and now I'm in a more um, a less stressful job, and I'm loving it. Loving
Yeah.
water testing. Barkley Water is a great small company, and going from that, big corporation to a small business was another huge shocker that I never even thought about between all my internships. What is the culture of where I'm working? Am I just another cog in the machine, or am I Eren Gulsen here to do this work for the company that they need this?
Oh yeah, you're Aaron Gulsen. No, I'd love to just chime in and attest to that. Like as you know, I'm day one in my new job right now, transferring from working cargo claims and container shipping for the third or fourth biggest container line in the world. This massive multinational conglomerate, just tens of thousands of employees. They're getting into air cargo now, but moving from that, where I felt like what you're saying. I mean, great corporation to be a part of, but you're just another cog in the wheel, and there's a lot of layers of bureaucracy to now just day one of a lot smaller company. Now I'm working insurance and claims for a dry bulk and ro-ro or car carrier in Long Island, working remotely for now. But just already, I feel that there's a little more like individualism, and I feel like I need to take responsibility for my work because um, there's more eyes on me, and those the levels are it's more of a flat
Right.
organizational structure.
Right.
Just a whole lot less people and a whole lot more focus on everyone's work together.
Yeah, but that in itself is something I feel like, we're both out a couple of years now from schooling, and
Yeah.
it takes it you have to. So for me, I jumped around to a whole bunch of different jobs trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do, and I thought if I jump from this one because I don't like it and I go to this job because it's something new, I'm going to find out whether or not I like it. And I was kind of just following that same pattern of, um, I don't like this, so I'm going to go find something else and switching around. And it's not until it really takes at least a year to figure out whether or not what you're doing is something for you, because when you immerse yourself in that long, then you actually start to see what's going on. Like you said, you having come out with business, working in your professional development program, you got to see a whole spectrum of maritime business where I only saw that one maritime shipping idea, and that was kind of my fault. I jumped ship too quick. I didn't explore what was going on. But I mean, you could go on and on, I'm sure, about all the different experiences you've had.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options. That's what drew me to business at Maritime. I didn't have the past experience like you. I wasn't thinking like what an engineer could do, but I was just thinking, marine transportation. You're out to sea, or and then those people come back and they take the business jobs at my company, and they're the directors and they're the senior managers with that shipping experience. But I was just thinking, my naive younger self, oh, business, there's a billion opportunities. Like everything's a business. Um, but from what you're saying, you don't think about it if you don't know, but there's just as many opportunities with facilities engineering. And in the same way I'm speaking on, marine transportation transferring to business shoreside jobs, all these marine engineers come home after, raking it in, shipping out, and transfer into facilities engineering jobs. It all translates. Bottom line, a lot of opportunity.
Right. Yeah. I mean, even during COVID, right? And I was talking about this with Joe today, Joe
Yeah,
Perry.
it's those types of jobs. We're very fortunate.
Right. Yeah. I mean, both of us have voluntarily switched jobs during COVID. not because we were fired and needed a new job. We didn't like what we were doing, or we wanted to switch what we were doing. And even during a time where everybody's getting laid off, as maritimers, you know, and with a business degree and a facilities minor, trying to figure this out, switching jobs, even in a field that wasn't in my major, maritime is the reason for that. It's the network, it's the opportunities that you get to build your resume while you're there, the license classes, the internships, like
Yeah.
that's really what it's all about, and it's worth those 4 years of sacrifice
Yeah,
for
we're
sure.
very we're very, very fortunate. But yeah, they weren't I know I said the open houses, they were giving their spiel, but like they weren't bullshitting. Like,
No, they weren't.
it's a good thing to get into.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, well, you're about to say something about Joe Perry. I think we got a couple minutes left. So why don't you say whatever you're gonna say and maybe speak on what you guys have been cooking up, and then we'll wrap it up here.
Yeah, so we're actually working on a podcast as well. So a little bit kind of along the same lines. So Pilgrim Professionals, we're essentially,
Yeah.
as in our growing up in Plymouth, Mass, go Pilgrims. Um, we we just have this group of friends that have kind of expanded across all sorts of fields. Alex Hunt, who works as a chef. I mean, even actually in the same token, while we're talking about it at Mass Maritime, Sam Jarvis, who graduated and ended
Mm.
up going down, and his so working as a salvage background, ended up working to to buy a ship that was written off, bring it up to code, and then ship it out and use it as a salvage ship as his job when he got out. Like that is you get all sorts of incredible experiences that it just encompasses everything. But um, yeah, so we have that broad of a spectrum of people that we just would like to help out and show, like, it's not all about finding that job. It's a lot of, darn, I don't like this
A
job,
lot of
darn, I don't
jobs.
like this job, this
In
isn't
your
for me, this
case,
isn't for me, and just not getting discouraged by it. But again, like the network of everything, I think one of the biggest things is that you just have to stay in what you're doing long enough to really, you know understand the culture, and to not sound so cheesy, but for young kids, for students, it might be a little easier to understand. Your freshman year, you come in, you know nothing. As a sophomore, like going back to the Latin root of it, sophomoric, meaning wise fool. You know just enough to know something, but you still don't know enough to actually
pulling
be
out the
that.
Latin.
Yeah, oh yeah.
No, that's
Um,
beautiful.
and then your junior
Yeah,
year, you start figuring things out, and senior year, time to go. There's that evolution in everything. You start something new, and as soon as you start to think you know what it is, you're the fool, you're the wise fool. Then you start to learn a little bit more, and you're like, oh yeah, I got a hang of this. And then all of a sudden you realize how much you don't know, and that's when you start to figure things out. And
oh yeah,
just to be able to kind of expose people to the different types of niches. And I couldn't speak on the culture of different businesses that have nothing to do with what I've done since I graduated, because I know I don't know enough. But there's just a lot of other people, in cooking, in my brother, who's working essentially as an arborist. We have Mike Clark, who works down at a hatchery and is the wildlife specialist. He goes into training
yeah.
the environmental police officers down there.
I see him on
Um,
Instagram with like a hawk or something. Like,
oh yeah, he's got the pet hawk down there, and there's
oh
a
man,
couple bald eagles
yeah,
too,
dude,
just nesting up.
you got a show on your hands. You got some interesting some professional pilgrims, as you'll put it.
Oh yeah,
Um,
professional pilgrims coming soon.
well, yeah, man. I think that just about does it. This was so great. We got to have you on for like a part two. I feel like we can keep going, and yeah,
Yeah,
we'll have you
yeah.
and Joe on. You can tell us how the podcast is doing once you guys get it all off the ground.
Right on. All right, man. Well, thank you for
Yeah,
having me on. I appreciate it, and
yeah, yeah.
I hope it helps someone out. I hope it helps one of the young Maritimers. And again,
Yeah.
on behalf of all of them, thank you guys for making this podcast.
Well, you're very welcome, and thank you, man. Good to see you.
You too, buddy.
All right.